Thank you guys so much for coming. I'm Rochelle Diamond. I run our LinkedIn speaker series, and I'm on our employee experience team. This is actually our first local edition of the speaker series, and what we're hoping to do with that is to be able to scale the program and bring more speaker series to local offices. So I want to thank Bahram, her, and Portia Wen. I don't know where Bahram is and Portia. Yeah. They helped me put this together, and the thought is that in the future, they'll be able to help run other events like this so you can have access to more of the inspiring speakers in the area. So for today, I'm really excited to have Alex Velez here from Back to the Roots. I first learned about Back to the Roots actually at my business school reunion. They had this session called HozX, like a TEDx thing, where they had Cal grads come and speak about interesting stories. They had 5 minutes to tell their story. And I was so impressed and so inspired with Alex and Back to the Roots that I called him after and asked if he would come and tell his story to all of you, because I think it's really inspiring. And it's also a really great example of taking an intelligent risk, which I know is a theme for sales this year. So before I bring Alex up, I just want to remind everyone you can share the content from this talk. We encourage you to tweet and Instagram and all that kind of good stuff. The Twitter handles are Back to the Roots and Velez Alejandro. And with that, I'd like to welcome to the stage Alex Velez. The music. Anyway, it's okay.
Thank you,
oh, you're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Well, I'm so excited to be here.
Is the mic working? Just want to make sure.
Hello?
Okay.
Is it working?
I wanted, before I give the stage to you entirely, I let Alex in on our LinkedIn tradition of when we have someone new come to LinkedIn, we ask them to share something that's not on our LinkedIn profile, not in their LinkedIn profile, and to demonstrate a special skill or talent. And he was generous enough and brave enough to be able to share this with us. So Alex, if you could, this is the tradition. You tell us your name, your role, what you do at your company.
My name is Alex. I'm the co-founder of Back to the Roots.
Nice. And what is something that is not on your LinkedIn profile?
So something that's not on my LinkedIn profile, so this is a little bit more personal. I'm very lucky and so happy my mom is here. And one of the things that people talk about are what's in your resume, what's, what got you to where you are today. And I would never be here without her. We've gone through some very tough things from immigrating here from South America to a lot of other kind of stuff along the way. And wouldn't be here without you, Mama. So do you want to stand up for a second? I know it's awesome.
That was great. And then now demonstrate a special skill or talent.
I'm going to demonstrate this through a little fun video. So I roll with the punches, literally.
Mushroom fungi taking the plunge. So does my cow. Oh, Dan.
Mushroom fungi Alejandro.
This is Wipeout, in case you guys don't know.
Mushroom fungi making a move.
Oh. If there were any cows left.
Oh boy, it's mushroom fungi Alejandro getting swept off his...
Out the flavor and makes him go down easy. Oh, not enough.
That was awesome. Thank you for sharing. I don't know if that deserves applause.
Well, apparently somebody from LinkedIn won this.
Yes, Caroline Lee actually participated on Wipeout, if you guys know her. Also,
I clearly did not win this.
But I don't know if you guys noticed, it did call him a fun guy. Get it? You guys got it. Okay. Anyway, I like to point out the obvious. So we're really happy to have you here, and I'll let you take it away. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And I'd love to start this with another really brief video of why I'm really here. Just talk to you about the future of food.
The future of food is personal.
Where we connect back to where our food comes from.
And where transparency is #1.
When it's made in a kitchen, not in a lab.
Future of food is where we all have a say in how our food's going to be grown.
The future of food is where good food creates good jobs.
And workers are treated with respect.
And where nutritious food is accessible to everyone.
And my kids know where and how their food was grown.
The future of food is simple, organic, and transparent.
The future of food is going back to the roots, to give kids better food at school.
To make food fun again.
I'm all in.
I'm in too.
I'm in to make food personal.
I'm all in.
I'm in too.
I'm in too.
Let's take it back to the roots.
We're in.
So I wanted to start with that just because I think that's ultimately what we're setting out to do. And it's a tiny little team in Oakland. I have one team member here, Stuart Irvin, who actually started with us literally 3 days ago. So he's our Vice President of Operations, left a much more stable $150 million company to join this tiny startup. So very honored to have him here. And we did not start out that way. We did not start out to try to undo food, to try to take food back to how it used to be. Like many of you, I've seen some Cal Bears, so, right? I think Caroline, and yeah, nice. So I started out not knowing what the heck I was doing other than I was going to put my head down and get ahead in the United States. I immigrated when I was 11 years old. I moved to a tiny little town in Michigan called Paw Paw, ended up moving to San Diego and ended up at UC Berkeley. I was playing tennis my freshman year at school, and I joined a fraternity, which will become actually the founding location where we have a fellow Beta Theta Pi brother here as well who works at LinkedIn. And I joined the fraternity, had never seen or heard of fraternity in my life before this, but I latched on a guy who became my big brother, my big mentor in the house, and I said, hey, what's the best way to get ahead? And he's like, investment banking, man, investment banking. I was like, okay. So I put my head down, studied my ass off to become an investment banker, not really knowing what it was until junior year of college. But I went down that path, went to business school, ended up working at Morgan Stanley in their investment banking, media, and telecom group, and thought I loved the work itself, the culture. Not so much, not because of the hard work. The hard work wasn't the thing that turned me off. It was you'd look to your boss's 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 boss and the managing director, somebody that frankly is not somebody I wanted to become. So it was this really tough decision. When I came back to Berkeley, had the offer in front of me, I told my mom, I'm like, I'm not signing, Mom, I'm not signing, Mom. And then I saw it, and I'm like, I'm signing. So signed the offer, had an apartment lined up in New York, had my roommate already set, and about 3 weeks before graduation, I'm sitting in a lecture of about 250 people, and this professor brought up this pretty random fact that you could potentially grow mushrooms on coffee waste. And then he clicked to the next slide. That particular slide had a logo, a Starbucks logo, some mushrooms, and trees being cut down. And he, for about 15 seconds, said, I read in a book that you could potentially take an $8 billion industry in Asia, and instead of cutting down logs to do it the way they do it currently, I read in a book that you could potentially use coffee waste to do it. We have billions of pounds of coffee waste we're throwing away, so this would be a nice way to make this more sustainable. Clicks to the next slide, and it was 19 ways in which you can add sustainability to big business. For some random, I have no clue to this day why the heck I thought that was interesting. I guess, not true. I guess I'm Colombian originally, and I grew up loving coffee, so I think that piece of me got me intrigued. So I went up to the professor, had never grown a thing in my life, could care less about agriculture, could care less about sustainability. I just went up to him, I said, hey, do you have any more information? And this professor just looks at me, he's like, honestly, I don't know anything else, but he's like, here's the name of the book, here's the name of the author, Paul Stamets. And he's like, 1 second, he's like, there's this other kid who asked the exact same question as you. He's like, you guys should link up. I'll put you in touch by email. This other kid ends up being Nikhil, who's there on the right, a guy who I never had met in my life. For some reason, we were the only 2 kids in this class of 250 people that went up to him, asked about it, got in touch, and immediately hit it off. It was like my freaking business soulmate, wife, husband, brother, everything combined in one time. We met up in front of Beta and just hit it off. And we started asking all these questions, why are you interested? And we're like, I don't know, it sounded kind of cool. Why are you interested? And eventually we went in, pulled out our laptops, started going to Google and YouTube and put in how do you cultivate mushrooms on coffee grounds and watch these YouTube videos. Eventually we were like, all right, screw it. Let's stop watching videos. Let's actually go do this thing. Let's actually go out and try it out. So we went over to Cafe Strata, stood in line to get a coffee, and then afterwards we're like, hey, can we pick up some of your coffee grinds as well? And the guy looks at us all funny, and he's like, sure. he takes us to the back. He's got all these bins of coffee waste. So first thing there, we're like, holy smokes, like there is quite a bit of waste. You never think about it when you go and get your coffee and walk out. So we went there, we picked up some of these coffee bags, these wasted coffee bags, took them back to Beta, and planted a few buckets in Carol's closet, our closet in the back. We took all these buckets right before spring break, planted, it was like around 2 rows of 5 buckets, and went off to spring break, came back, and I'll not ever forget this moment because I walked into this room and 9 of these 10 buckets looked disgusting, just fungus growing all over, but nothing real. And then in the back right, we see this gorgeous crop of mushrooms just popping out. And I called Nikhil up right away. I was like, dude, I think something's growing, man. Like something's popping out. And then he's like, no way. Within like a minute and a half, he's up at the fraternity. He's like barely, he's trying to catch his breath. He's like, okay, we'll try it. And I'm like, I'm not gonna try this. Like with mushrooms, I've never even seen stuff grow like this. But it was like, all right, well, let's walk to a restaurant and see if they'll try it out. And we said, well, what's the best restaurant in town? Chez, Panisse. Or like, all right, well, we've never eaten there, but we might as well see if they'll cook them for us. So we took this Ace hardware bucket of coffee waste with some mushrooms growing on it. We walk in there. First person we see is Alice Waters. And knowing her now, the fact that she's here once every 6 months, how random it was that she happened to be there on that day and looks at us, kind of laughs, and then we say, hey, Alice, how are you? It's her restaurant. Of course she's going to be in there. We're like, do you mind if you cook up some mushrooms for us? And she laughs, but looks at us all funky, but she's like, all right, fine. And Alice Waters is, just for context, she's one of the people that has spearheaded this organic local movement, somebody who's become a really strong face for all this, but at the time we could care less. We didn't know what it was. We just wanted her to try them. And her head chefs plucks them out, so he takes about half of this bucket, half of our mushrooms, so we're kind of like, damn, like he just took about half of the stuff we had grown, and he plucks it within a little bit. He's like, oh, Alice, these are pretty good, actually. We're like, yeah, all right, good. So we got all excited. We got more confidence. We're like, all right, well, let's go sell them. Let's go to walk to Whole Foods. So took this 5-gallon bucket, half as many mushrooms, walked into the first produce guy we saw. We're like, hey, we're here to sell you some mushrooms. We learned how to grow these on coffee waste. Most growers are cutting down logs to do it. Alice Waters, Chez, Panisse said she loves it. You should try them out here. And the cool thing about Whole Foods, and we give so much credit and love to them for many reasons now after being partnered with them almost 6 years, but at the time, a produce guy who could have very easily just turned us away, he looked at this, got so pumped, he got the entire store team, like all the team members around this bucket. So imagine Berkeley Whole Foods, you've got these 2 Berkeley kids with a 5-gallon Ace hardware bucket in the middle of it, and we're just all sitting there, we're all kind of looking at it. Eventually they said, hey, shoot us an email or give us your business card. We're like, no, we'll shoot you an email. And shot them an email. 3 weeks later, we hear back from the regional produce coordinator. And it's this long forwarded chain of emails going up to the regional buyer. His name was Randy DeCommon. And he writes back one sentence. He's like, this is pretty cool. Here's my cell phone. We're like, all right. So we're in 3rd floor of our fraternity on speaker. Nikhil and I are talking to him. It was his first time talking to our regional buyer. And talked to him for about 45 minutes. Nothing about selling anything whatsoever. The guy's just asking tons of random questions. And eventually like, stop talking so fast. I was like, what the heck were you guys doing before this? We're like, well, we're supposed to. I'm doing investment banking, and Nikhil's doing consulting. He's like, nah, give that up, boys. He's like, give that up. He's like, start this up. I'll make sure you guys blow up in Whole Foods. He's like, screw consulting, screw banking. He's like, full-time mushroom farmer. We're like, all right. So literally off that conversation, we gave up a 6-figure job offer. Both of us did independently. We said, we shook hands. Nikhil and I shook hands on it at the top of Haas, and we said, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's give up our current jobs. Let's become full-time mushroom farmers, not even knowing what the heck that even meant. We had grown 1 bucket. So we literally started doing this for months at a time. It wasn't like we did this for a couple weeks. We would wake up at 5 in the morning, go to all the Cafe Strata, to all the Pete's, all the Starbucks around the area, haul these back. We applied for $5,000 from our chancellor for social innovation. We wrote this 2-page business case study, I don't know, it was like an executive summary of what we wanted to do. We got a $5,000 check that we said, all right, cool. So we got $800 for our van. We got this 350 square foot warehouse in Oakland. Started going around all the coffee shop, picked them up. Actually, we have got some white racks that we were able to grow some mushrooms in. Started doing farmers markets, local Whole Foods. We'd wake up, go pick up coffee waste around the area. We'd come back, we'd plant them. Then the other one would get on BART and deliver them to the Whole Foods. Then we'd come back and do demos in Whole Foods. And then eventually, finally got to starting to sell actual real like bulk mushrooms. So we would sell, this is the first set of mushrooms ever. It's 3.14 pounds that we sold at the Berkeley Whole Food store. And we drank a beer at like 4 in the morning celebrating this when you had to deliver. We were so stoked. Didn't think we could actually even go beyond that. But then along the way, we did so many demos and so many people that came by, they'd get so excited about our excitement for how fast these things grew. Because mushrooms, and you guys probably don't know anything about mushrooms, but they grow so freaking fast and they are so freaky. And so the fact that you put them in you can put them anywhere, within like 6 or 7 days, these baby little things start popping in, and then they double in size every day. So overnight, they're twice the size. So you can imagine, and at the time we didn't think about this, but families and kids were like, let me come and visit your warehouse. So we became tour guides instead of farmers or demoers of our product. Instead of going in Whole Foods, they were coming to our own warehouse and they'd take these bags home. So they were like, oh, let me take these bags and put them in my kitchen. And then we started 10 days later, sure enough, all these pictures would start coming in of kids growing these funky, ugly fungus bags. But they were so stoked. They were so excited by it. We're like, I think we've got something here. I think there's an opportunity for us to turn this into something cooler. And we went back to Randy yet again. We go in there with all this confidence, excitement. We put a bag over this bag on the left, version 1. We pulled an all-nighter designing this sticker that we printed at FedEx, and it had basically like an admissions essay to college. It was every little thing we could try to fit into this thing because we thought it was really important. And we pulled this out, literally like it was a freaking iPhone. Like we set it on the table, and it was 5 pounds at the time, so you could literally hit the table. Randy, he like looks at that, he steps back, he's like, dude, that's freaking hideous. Like, no way in heck I'm gonna put that in Whole Foods. He's like, this is the most disgusting thing, it's a bag of fungus. And then he kind of steps back, he's like, but I love the concept. He's like, you guys should go back to your R&D team and figure that out. And the R&D team was me and Nikhil, and went back to the Pete's at Emeryville, and we were like, well, there's, I think he gave us some real honest feedback on design. Like, nobody's gonna want to put this ugly thing in their kitchen. It's one of the most prime real estate pieces of a house. So can we get to a point at which it becomes this beautiful piece of art or something that's more personal? And it led us to ultimately launching the mushroom farm. And that's really what started taking off. So this little guy, you put in your kitchen. So it's solving this amazing thing, especially, maybe not so much in the Bay Area, but parts like Boston, New York, places where you don't even have any sort of backyard. And you're able to grow something right in front of your eyes. Within a few days, you get to see and experience the fact that stuff can grow. And a lot of people had never really experienced this before. So we went from the one Whole Foods to a national launch with Whole Foods within 3 months, started really expanding. We demos all over the country and started realizing that people were freaking out and they were thinking the mushrooms were so magical, and it led to all these different retailers signing up to, as first Whole Foods, but then the Home Depot was like, hey, we've got a couple thousand stores. We could start testing you guys out. We did a few stores with them, ended up to where we are today. We'll be launching 2,000 stores by this holiday season with the Home Depot, 1,000 Targets, nationwide with Safeway, Kroger, all these other retailers off a freaking mushroom kit. And that's the coolest thing, is the fact that a mushroom kit allowed us and gave us the opportunity to talk to retail buyers across from Nordstrom, where we're nationwide, to Crate and Barrel, to then selling products in Safeway and Kroger and over 15,000 stores today. And I think through that, we just didn't even think about the fact that we weren't out there to set out to create a business or even a movement. We're just like, hey, this is really cool. Kids and families are loving this. Let's keep going down this path. But I think along the way, we started learning this, hey, we have a product development lens here and a product lens that I think we can innovate and start to apply other things. And really it was this focus on sustainability, this idea that we could kind of have this almost kid focus and have a kid's lens. And we're obsessed with Pixar. You can walk into a movie to watch Pixar with your little nephew or your little daughter or son, and you walk out smiling, and so is he or she, and it's completely different reasons for why you're smiling. So you can be sophisticated enough for a mom and a dad, but fun enough for a kid, and then really leading with design and starting getting pictures all over the country, and we continue to get these, turn this into a really fun Grow One, Give One campaign. So our friends at Tom's are a big inspiration for what they've done, and we got inspired ourselves. We say, hey, for every picture that you send to us, we'll donate one to an elementary school of your choice. And we've now got thousands of schools. At first, it was just off of a simple campaign, and turned into getting so much excitement in schools, turned into a lot of buzz of people wanting to make food more personal, really. I think the buzz and all of that's just been generated. I think it's ultimately because food is so universal. It's something that's so personal already. No matter what, we're gonna eat food every day. And we can say that about very few things in life. And we've now have an incredible team that's super passionate and hungry. And we took all that, wrapped all that up. It was about 3 years worth of just mushroom kits and retailers, and expanded the heck out of distribution, so focused. And we said, what else are we going to do? What else are we going to do? So we, unlike many other companies, instead of doing case studies and research studies, hey, what do we do now that we have our buyers' attention? No, we just set out to visit more farms. Stumbled across an aquaponics farm, and it was with Whole Foods support. And have you guys heard of aquaponics at all? Or no? So a little bit, nice. And what aquaponics does, what it is it's actually an ancient way of growing food in which all fish poop. So the fish poop actually is used as the fertilizer for the plants, and the plants clean water and bring it back down for the fish. So no real waste is generated. You can use half the real estate, grow twice as much as food. And we visited this farm in Milwaukee, totally inspired by it. We said, hey, can we do the same thing we did with a big mushroom farm, made it little? Can we take a big aquaponics farm where they're using so much less energy, 10 times less water, and make it into the smallest ever created fish tank that grows food? And people thought we were nuts because we were going from produce buyers to now potentially pet buyers. But we said, no, this is the same idea. You're creating an ecosystem in the home. Nobody thought we'd do it. So we said, all right, screw it. Let's just put it up on Kickstarter and do a 2-minute video. And it's now to date the second most funded Kickstarter food video in the history of Kickstarter. We did $250,000 in 30 days. We did another $250,000 off our website. And this is without even investing in an injection molded product. We hadn't even invested a single dollar into the unit. We had one prototype, and that was it. And that was enough to then get Whole Foods, Nordstrom, and Petco as their launch partners. So all of them placed orders to go nationwide at once. It was the first time these 3 retailers had actually worked together, but they said, Whole Foods was here saying, hey, this is about growing food in a really cool way. Petco's like, well, this fits right into my aquatics department. And we said, of course, well, you got to put a fish coupon inside too, because that way Whole Foods and Nordstrom can kind of be part of the launch too. So they said, of course. So we now, every single water garden, which you see one right there, has a little coupon from Petco. And it's been pretty exciting, the same kind of buzz. It's been now almost, I think, about 2 years since we launched, and has seen incredible support, and taken that same lens to now creating these fun garden in cans, which are on your chair now. And we visited, we stayed very close with UC Berkeley. It was Professor Morgan Williams, who we worked with, and they were doing this work with biochar, which is just an ancient way. Amazonian tribes used to use this to for preventing overwatering, but at the same time nutrient retention. So it was just a really, really great way and sustainable way to retain water. And they were doing it for reforestation in California and all the Pacific Northwest. And we said, hey, can we do that? And there's these other little kits out there for growing food, but they don't really work. They're really crappy experience. You have to either poke holes at the bottom because of the water. If you overwater it, it gets bogged down. So then you have to transplant it, put it into something else, or you have to put it in a saucer. And we're like, it's a mess or overpriced. And realized that this was such a simple, easy way, natural, organic way to do this. And we had 3 soil scientists work with us at Berkeley to create a first ever biochar-powered, tiny little garden in cans. And this actually just came out yesterday. This is the front page of the food, the front burner section of the New York Times. Is Florence, one of the notoriously kind of picky food editors, did an amazing write-up about the product. And as you see, these are some of the launch partners of the product, and has created, I think, without even thinking about this, and maybe in line with this calculated risk, which I think 9 out of 10 people, when I first talked to them about what I was doing, would have never said it was calculated at the time. I think it's now turned into something that, for us, when we've led with passion, we haven't led through this idea of, hey, we have to create a business and and sell widgets. It's much more become like, who are we trying to serve, and how do we solve a problem that maybe doesn't even fully exist, but it's a problem that society has today. And it's turned into now, this is probably one of the coolest launches that we've ever experienced. It's been a dream for us to see, if you go walk into a grocery store today, you normally think the outside of the aisle is what's healthy, which is the fresh produce. The stuff inside is the unhealthy one. And we always said, can Back to the Roots become that bridge, that bridge between both the inside of the store and the outside of the store? And Target just took that big bet on us and put us right in between that, and launched all ready-to-grow products. They called it Grow Savings. I wish they would have called it that. It's kind of tacky, but led to an amazing launch, and it's become really great partners. They've now signed up to be the first to market on another ready-to-grow product, which we're launching in December with them. And took all of that learning from this idea of, growing food is so personal and you become so connected to it in ways you never expected. It obviously has to be really easy, really convenient, really fun for it to work. If not, you just get overgrown food because you're busy. But we wanted to take that same lens and apply it to food. And same way we went last time, instead of going to a case study and how do we kind of grow our revenue and grow our top line, we started visiting farms because the curiosity around learning around food is what got us here to begin with, so let's keep doing that. We went to all the Whole Foods local foragers. We said, hey, let's visit farms with you. So we spent 6 months from Hawaiian farms. That's actually up the top right. That's an avocado. There's over 1,000 types of avocados in Hawaii. I had no freaking clue. All we were used to seeing is one variety, the Hass avocado, and these baby bananas, and then as you see Nikhil at a wheat farm. So wheat, we stumbled on wheat, not expecting to be and fall in love with this commodity, but really it's this incredible crop that people are beating up today, thinking it's so bad for you, but it's, as we learn, and we're hearing it directly from the farmer, it's really what created civilization. People were able to start, going from hunting and gathering to start creating societies because of wheat, and we started saying, like, well, what's this whole gluten stuff? Isn't gluten bad for you? And they're like, no, what's happening is we're processing the crap out of it and removing all the good stuff. And that's just the industrialization and processing of wheat today, which takes out the wheat germ, takes out the wheat germ oil, the middlings, which is the outside, and you're left with dead, bleached white flour. And we're like, that is crazy. Like 9 out of 10 wheat-based products in a grocery store today are selling you that. They're selling you bleached white flour, which is tons of gluten, tons of sugar, and very empty calories. So we said, has that always been the case? And learned that it wasn't. They used to stone mill this stuff, where they used to take 100 pounds of wheat kernels, 100 pounds of wheat kernels would come out, so nothing would be added, nothing would be removed. And we said, hey, can we apply our lens of kind of simplifying food, focusing on the simplicity of it, and take it back to how it used to be done? Is that something that Factory Roots could do? And looked at all the different categories, from crackers to chips to cereals, and cereals started floating to the top. We started looking at the category itself, and we're like, for a $10 billion category, sustainability sucks. There's not a single cereal out there that's 100% recyclable. So everything that you buy in a $10 billion category is thrown away right now. From an ingredients perspective and transparency, it's all commoditized sugar, all commoditized wheat. You have no idea where it comes from today. And it's a candy category that's just literally dressed up as a health food, and people are so confused by it, no transparency. People don't even trust cereal makers today. So we looked at that and we said, can we take this back to, potentially using stone milling and taking it back to how it used to be done? And we took about 9 months of hard work. We were so lucky to partner with the Whole Foods Grocery Global team, worked with Costco and the Amazon team on trying to redo cereal and doing it back to what it was originally supposed to be, which was supposed to be a health food when it was first invented by the Kellogg's brother 100 years ago. So can we do that and do it again? And we worked our butts off to launch the first, and this is crazy to say, for 100 years, this is the first US-grown breakfast cereal that has 3 ingredients. We tell you exactly where the ingredients come from. So we actually tell you the wheat is grown, it's organic, non-GMO, grown in Fresno, California, Northern California. We have sugar cane coming from Florida, about an hour outside of Miami. And we have the sea salt that comes here from the Bay. And that's it. Those are literally the 3 ingredients that's a part of the cereal. And also something that was pretty surprising to us is the fact that it has so much, it's like packed with nutrients. You can actually taste the wheat itself for the first time, and it has 40 grams of whole grains, 6 grams of protein, 5 grams of fiber, and it's nothing added. Like, there's no protein isolates to get to that. It's just the simplicity of just using the real thing. And you start questioning, like, why are we adding all these things to food today if food itself on its own, when it's pure and it's in its simplest form, can have so much of this now? And from a packaging perspective, this was the coolest thing for us to kind of take our design lens and apply to, because it's antiquated as heck. There's been no innovation. It's run by 3 Goliaths that have not had to change it. And we looked at it. It's a crappy non-recyclable bag. You look at kids or anybody really open up cereal, you normally open it, it gets in the inside of the little things. It's hard to close, hard to open, hard to seal. So we said, can we solve to that and learn from milk, for God's sake? Like, look at what they're doing. It's a 100% recyclable box. You had to do some packaging changes, of course, to get to the shelf life, but we got to where we create a much easier to open, much easier to seal, and worked really hard to have that Pixar effect on the taste. Ultimately, you can create a really healthy, sustainable cereal, but if it tastes like crap, nobody's going to eat it. And it was very, very important for us to make this crunch just be right. And also the idea that when it's so simple, there's 3 ingredients and you keep it pure, like get a nice crunch to it, and kids actually enjoy it. And it's been really fun seeing pictures all over starting to pop up. We're doing a campaign on our cereal box as well, and doing it into convenience packs. And this is a little bit of what I was talking about. Just look at I think you have the same or more nutrition, much less sugar, much more whole grains, but then you look at an ingredient deck, look at even close partners of ours, so I hate to put them up here on the stand, but even a Cliff Bar, which has 26 ingredients. And that's not how food needs to be made. And I think that's ultimately what we're all here to do, and I think that's what's critical. And we then said, hey, at the same time, customization is important in breakfast and cereal. And we went out and we said, can we add customization? Can we add some convenience to the cereal aisle? And we launched it alongside these breakfast toppers. So people normally want to see blueberries and bananas and almonds and nuts and seeds in their cereal. And you see it on the front of the package. And most of the time, you're probably disappointed. If you open up the cereal, you look in there, and there's either none at all. It's one of the few categories that's gotten away with the FDA not having a regulation around it, or they have so little that you can't even taste it. So we're like, can we actually make something that makes it so you can be customizable and get excited about having cereal and having different nuts and seeds? And just launched this just hitting 90 days today. We've sold over 100,000 cereal boxes in the first 90 days. We've launched from Costco to Whole Foods, launching nationwide at Kroger and Target in about 4 weeks, 5 weeks. No, we just hit Target, so it's happening as we speak. And one of the coolest partnerships, one I'm proud of, one that it's not 100% official yet, but so I didn't know this was being recorded, but whatever. It's been in the works. It's one of the largest food distributors in the country and in the world, really. Sodexo, and what they're doing is they're serving 20,000 classrooms every single day, and they're serving them food, they're serving them an experience to right now, and they're so transparent. The food service industry is hurting. All they focus on is price, and how do you cut price year after year? That's how they win contracts. And they kind of stepped back and said, let's stop fighting that race to the bottom. Let's take it and see what else we can do. And through this incredible last few months partnership, directly working with their executive team to say, hey, can we turn this around and make food personal in classrooms as well, the piece that's so important to us. And by this October, you're going to see about 10,000 classrooms come up with not only a garden toolbox, which has a fourth grade little curriculum, 9th grade, and 6th grade curriculum, where you're going to see the mushroom kit, you're going to see the garden of can, you're going to see the water gardens in there. But we're working on now displacing one of their key breakfast cereals. So we would take one of the biggest breakfast cereals. It's hundreds and thousands of units that they're currently selling of this stuff to schools, and we're turning it around. So very excited. Obviously, we'd not be here alone. We've not done this alone across the entire way. It's been with tons of support. To really accelerate this growth, we took a $2 million investment round from really close angels and investors. Some of them that's actually, I know I've spoken here before. And at the end of the day, this is what gets us excited. It's happening already. We have hundreds of schools that interact and play and have fun with our products. They turn it into science projects without us even doing anything about it. We see them kind of, whether growing up in the classroom, taking pictures, that they do little projects on it. And I think I just want to end this short kind of talk and opportunity to chat with you is reality that we're all millennials in this room for the most part, and I think what's at stake here is massive, and we've never been so disconnected from food ever. And I think it does not have to be that way, and it is a massive thing. Every single day counts for us to be part of that solution. And this is a pretty staggering stat, and one that I didn't know until very, very recently, but 1 in 3 kids born in 2000 are going to have type 2 diabetes. We're spending $500 billion in healthcare. These are all healthcare costs attributed to food. We have 1 in 3, or 33% of greenhouse gases are coming directly from the way we're manufacturing our food. And this has to stop, and I think that's ultimately what drives me every morning, what drives our small team out of Oakland every morning. And as a little quote, the reality is that we got to do everything we can do today. I think today is exactly what it's all about, and this is what's at stake. It's our kids, and it's the reality of us doing it, and I'm so excited, honored to be able to talk to you guys. You have such an impact you can make in the world without even knowing it. You guys have an incredible brand and platform to make influence in how you buy food here today, and how you talk to food to other people. And yeah, super excited to have a beer with all of you, and yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
We actually have a couple minutes to do some Q&A. Does anyone in the audience have questions? You can come up to the mic. Come on up.
All right, thanks for coming in. Definitely a big inspiration. Was there anyone else involved, I mean, other than Professor, that helped you through like the tough times, who really inspired you and got you through that? Or, because I'm sure it's very hard from the startup stage to this, and can you kind of talk about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, gosh, I think every step of the way is so critical to the people around you. Are what they always say. I think there's like somebody that I think you quote is like, you are the people that you surround yourself with, and the 5 closest people that you're with every single day. We take a tremendous amount of time and effort in who we bring onto our team. That's by far the people at this stage, that's the people I spend most of my life with, and that means a lot to me. So, I mean, even the recruiting process with Stuart was, it was having dinner with the family. It was all important for us to know that this is so personal to us and the movement itself. And very lucky, I think, very tangibly speaking, like a lot of those mentors that not only backed us with capital have been mentors with us, spent hours of time with us without expecting anything in return. And it's so important.
Nice. Keep it up, man. Thanks.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
What's up, dude?
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good.
So
this is my frat brother, by the way.
Yeah.
So at LinkedIn, we talk a lot about transformation. It's one of the big key tenets of our culture here. And I think if anybody is thinking about when they've transformed in their own life, oftentimes it comes at a moment of, a lot of adversity, a lot of tough constraints. So I'm curious. I mean, that was an awesome story. Was there maybe one or a couple of times when you guys were really faced with, a big obstacle and you overcame it and it transformed the way you guys developed? Curious to hear that story.
Yeah, I mean, I can go straight into, we paint this, and sometimes we go into a little bit more detail on the Kickstarter launch. Incredible buzz. We had a $100,000 goal. We had $250,000, but on top of that, did another $250,000 off website on a product that had been made. So that, unless you realize and you have an ops hat on, that's exciting. Once you put your ops hat on, that's a huge challenge. Like, how can you turn that around? We were 3 months delayed, and the worst part of it, which almost put us out of business, was the fact that we launched a product with a water pump, which the product has. It brings water up from the bottom. That's the whole point of aquaponics. Well, instead of doing a water pump, we said, no, we're going to do an air pump because it doesn't look aesthetically pleasing to have a pump inside of the fish tank. We don't want to see it. We should put it inside a compartment. So we did an air pump inside a compartment, which you're freaking trying to defy physics here. You're literally putting an air pump that needs air to be able to work and push air so it displaces the water and brings it up inside a compartment. So within 3 weeks, we shipped out 10,000 of these. And 3 weeks later, we started getting calls and calls. People were like, hey, my pump's breaking. Send me a new one. And the first one was like, yeah, that's fine. And then we realized that our phone wouldn't stop ringing. We basically just about 70%, and some of these went to Petco. A major part of these went to Petco. So we were close. We spent over $100 and some thousand on replacing pumps that could have put us out of business. And so that was a pretty direct one. And I think lesson is you can't drink your own Kool-Aid. You got to stop and say, hey, the product's not 100% ready. You got to slow down and cut that.
Awesome. Thanks. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Hi. I'm just going to pick this up because I'm tall. First of all, I love people who are passionate about what they do, and I love listening to people who care about what they do. So thanks for coming in. This was, I wasn't quite sure what we were going to hear with growing mushrooms. And anyway, really cool, awesome. I read National Geographic, and about a year ago, there was a piece done on it was an 8-part thing on food in the 21st century and how we can meet the global demands of population growth in places like Southeast Asia and China, and how do we maintain this level of respecting the fact that yes, organic farming has its place, but at the same time we're going to have to feed billions of more people. And you're closer to this than anybody I think I've ever spoken to. So I'd love to hear your take on the organic versus GMO versus mass production, and how do we face the reality that we're going to add billions of people to the planet while at the same time respecting resources and giving an eye to that organic side?
Yeah, it's a loaded question that is so dear to us. And I will start by saying that I am not qualified enough to answer that. I'm extremely curious to find an answer. I don't think we have a clear-cut magic bullet answer, which is what's challenging to a lot of people that aren't part of it. Some of the tech folks that come and look at this movie are like, oh, we just got to solve this and this, and bam, let's just put money to it. It's a little bit more complex than that, as I'm personally learning. So I'm very inspired by Michael Pollan, who writes about, he's an author about food, and I think he takes a very more curious and curiosity approach to it. And I think that's the stance that really Back to the Roots wants to and believes in. It's this idea that, yes, population is growing. I think reality is that we are not even 100% sure organic farming is what's going to solve the problem, but we do know is the impacts that non-organic farming is creating on the environment. So organic farming is more expensive. I will also say that. Organic farming today is more expensive, but as we get more organic farming out in the world, so simple supply and demand, it's going to come down. Do we know if it's going to come down to a point at which it's going to be cheaper than current? Cheaper, and that's a very tough one. It's cheaper to who and cheaper to what? Like, we are ignoring a lot of environmental costs that come with conventional farming as well. The environmental impact right now, 60% of Wisconsin rain, I think it's 40 to 60% of Wisconsin rain right now has Roundup in it, straight up Roundup. That's scary, that's crazy. That's the stuff that we're using to put, and that's the stuff that kids in the Midwest are having to shower with and be part of. And so I think we know that that's a real risk to farming. Is organic the solution? I think there's ways for us to continue to learn from it. I think there's ways to get better than organic. I think there's going to be a beyond organic. It is better. I 100% think it's better. Our products are all 100% organic. Yeah, the piece of non-GMO, yeah, it's the non-GMO versus GMO. I think really, to me, at this point, from what I know, is let us just know. Like, I think we should know if there is GMOs in our food. That's all we should start there. We shouldn't try to get big companies who are profiting from having GMO-made products. So it's products that are being genetically modified. So a lot of these arguments for feeding the world, there's going to grow in population, are powered by these big companies who are making tons of money off having patents on these seeds. Well, we also have, and this is the last piece of that answer, is around 30 to 40% of the food is just not getting to the end customer. So it's just going bad. So can we also, instead of trying to solve for, can we tackle that? If 40% more food can get to people, which is a distribution challenge, it's not an easy one to solve, but there's a huge opportunity for us to get more food to people. So it's a tough question, but thanks, man.
No, hey, I'm fired up. Thanks a lot.
Hi there. I am personally curious to hear more about your 5 to 10 year plan, what you're thinking of in terms of, the long term, if you're expanding globally or working on specific products that you're interested in.
Yeah, so, there's the ethos of what we want to do is so strong. We've never felt so excited to bring more transparency to food, to simplify the hell out of food. This idea that food should be made in a kitchen, it should not be made in a science lab. The idea that food should be so easy to be made, even if it's in a grocery store in a package, you should be able to make that at home in a few minutes. Like, you should be able to at least have that idea and understand how to pronounce the ingredients, to be able to have such kind of transparency over who the farmer is or transparency over how it's made. So to me, that's ultimately what we stand for as a company. Let's just make food personal. Let's undo food. How that turns into products, to us, we think there's a huge opportunity. We just read that 1 in 4 millennials are you guys growing food at home? Like, whether it's basil plant or cilantro? Just curious. So this is actually pretty representative of what this study said, which is 1 in 4 millennials are now growing food at home, which is a massive, massive deal. And the problem, what I see today in some of these grow-at-home products, is that they suck, and they're really hard to do, or they're really expensive. And we want to try to create products that are really fun, easy, simple. So when you have that first time where you look at a product, you're like, yeah, I'll try growing basil at home. So you actually get excited by it. It's like when a kid tries something when they're young and little and they fail at it, they get scared and they don't want to do it again. So for me, it's let's solve growing at home food, make it easier, and then at the same time, let's apply that same lens to real food and try to give more power to the farmer to be able to create healthier and better food and let the customer be able to know where it comes from.
Great, thank you.
How's it going? I'm a fellow Bear as well myself, so go Bears.
When did you graduate?
I graduated 2013.
2013? 2013, okay,
yeah.
Cool.
What about you?
2009.
Okay, nice. All right. First of all, I think what you guys are doing is incredible. I think the story is absolutely, it's amazing, it's inspiring. I'm originally from Cameroon, which is in Central Africa. And just out of curiosity, what kinds of plans do you guys have to expand internationally? And what kinds of challenges are you guys going to face in doing so?
Yeah, I mean, international plans. I mean, we have product currently. We've sold 7,000 water gardens in Russia. We have a Russian presence. We have product in Canada, in Loblaws, which is the second largest retailer there. We've got a pretty solid partnership with them. Definitely excited by it in terms of focus and opportunity here in the States. It's still massive, and you know, biggest thing is you got to make sure you execute here at home. Every time you start getting further and further away, you start getting more complexity into the business. And to us, let's start here, but always looking to go abroad. You want to bring the product to Africa?
Sure, that'd be great.
Yeah. All right.
Well, how about a round of applause for Alex? Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. I'm going to join you up there. Oh, thank you. Stay. You're getting a standing ovation. This is really impressive.
Really?
I love it. So we actually have a little bit of a surprise for a few of you. Actually, I'll show you. So over here, we've got a little gift basket or arrangement of the Aqua Farm and Aquaplex? Aqua Farm. Some cereal, and then the mushroom kit and the basil and the cilantro in a can. And we actually have 3 of those. And 3 of them are going to go to 3 lucky people who have a piece of paper under their chair that says they are a winner. So hopefully, and if they all don't come up, we might have to shift chairs. You got one? 1, 2.
You won? My mom won?
Did your mom win? No. Oh, that's... I think we got all 3. Awesome. Okay, so see me after, and I'll get that for you. Sorry, that was so much fun. All the commotion. Bring it back. I just wanted to let you know that we're going to have, we've got some snacks and drinks set up over here, so please hang out and enjoy. And again, thank you so much for coming. It's super inspiring and so excited for everything you're doing. So thank you.